You know, this game was kept quiet for a good while. I mean, we saw part of the game being played at the Nintendo World Championships at E3 2015 in a mode called Blast Ball, but even after it got officially revealed as Metroid Prime Federation Force, Nintendo kind of went silent with it. They didn't show it at this year's E3 in favor of the upcoming Zelda game for Wii U and Nintendo NX, and I think a lot of people just forgot about it. I in fact was one of those people. They kept the game's info under wraps for so long that I didn't even know the release date until I looked it up after I got it in the mail. They've just been that hush-hush about it. So is that a good or a bad thing? The game itself seems to be considered trash by a lot of people, those being the ones who haven't played it and are just thirsty for a traditional installment in the Metroid Prime series. With that said, I feel like a lot of people are basing this game off of nostalgia. People were expecting a true Metroid game. But is this not one of those? I don't know. I mean, I've played very little of Super Metroid, so this is basically a fresh pair of eyes looking at a very unfamiliar franchise. So with that said, is this game good by its own merits at least? Well, after long, extensive time with the game, I've developed an opinion on it, and honestly, this game kind of shocked me a lot. I will say this much to start out, whoever was in charge of creating the trailers for the game clearly did not do it enough justice. And the few that they've released since the game's reveal, it's made out to look like a game where the only thing you do is shoot things. While that's partially true, there's a lot more to it than that, and that's what took me by surprise. See, it's a lighthearted, charming kind of game in its own way. I know people were gonna say in the comments that I'm dumb for saying that or something, somebody's gotta say it somewhere, and that I haven't played a real Metroid game. People are gonna hate on you for any opinion you have on this game, or anything in life really. I mean, let's be real, this is the internet. However, for the ones that are salty about this not being the Metroid game that they wanted, hear me out for a sec. The extent of the game really wasn't showcased that much in trailers. It's a puzzly kind of game. I will admit the first hour or so of the game was very slow whenever you got through the tutorial and everything, and I was losing the hope that I had playing through that, and it left me bored. However, that's tutorial mode, and I guess it's supposed to kind of just ease you in. However, after playing literally the first mission, there was something there that wasn't in the training sessions, and that was adventure. I played through the first few missions and instantly realized there's a lot more to this game than I realized. Let's begin with the thing we've probably seen the most of up until release, or at least understand the best based on what we've seen. Blast Ball is a mode I could have talked about weeks ago since Nintendo put a demo of it on the eShop, but I wanted to save it for this. Basically, you and a giant mech are scrambling around the stage with other players via AI or online to shoot a ball into a goal. I know everybody said this, and yes, I'm still going to briefly mention it. This side game strongly resembles Rocket League. It's very similar aside from the fact that in Blast Ball you obviously aren't in a car or are hitting the ball with a car. And in Rocket League the size of the goal doesn't change at all no matter how many goals you make. Other than that though, it's pretty similar. I didn't mind this mode, but playing it made me a little weary of the rest of the game I had yet to try out. And that's basically all there is to that. It isn't bad, but it probably won't keep my attention for any time longer. It's just kinda there. That's why I was so shocked about the campaign mode. It wasn't what I was expecting based off of Blast Ball. Of course, I'm aware those are two totally different things, but for me personally, the quality is so much different between them. Story mode was really good whenever I played it. It kept my attention for as long as it needed to, and I was genuinely entertained. That is, until I started dying on multiple missions. Even on the third one, I literally had one hit left before I died on my second playthrough of it. The challenge factor is crazy sometimes, and that doesn't make it bad, no. But it's a lot more fun if you aren't playing Lone Wolf and actually have friends to play this mode with. That's where multiplayer mode comes into play. You can play either locally or online with friends in a room or by joining a random group. And you can play practically the entire campaign, online, yes, that's a real thing. Nintendo, please do that more often, that's awesome. It makes the game so much more interesting. Having help around you to go different routes can really progress things quicker. It almost feels necessary at times because in the event you're in a room and have a swarm of space pirates all around shooting at you, it's probably best to have backup. It gets super frustrating at times, but in a good way. You can add mods to your mech that enhance weapons you equip, such as the one that extends the length of an enemy's electrocution, or another that increases the life of your shield generator. There's also a mod that lets you give more damage to enemies than normal while also having less damage taken after a hit. That one makes single campaigning a little bit easier. However, when you are playing alone, it feels very empty. I guess that's expected for a Metroid game and all, but it feels a little vacant at times. That isn't to say it's bad, but being alone makes the experience a little more serene and relaxing. As you progress through, you're almost getting to a point of needing other people's help though. But one thing they could have improved on immensely is the checkpoint system, and when I say that, I mean that it would be super nice to have a checkpoint somewhere in each mission. I know having checkpoints isn't the norm for Metroid games, but this is more of a spin-off. Excluding them in multiplayer would be fine in my eyes, but later on down the road, in single player campaign, it can be almost too difficult if you're new to the series like I am. That doesn't really ruin the fun though, as it does provide challenge. However, if you do get through to the end of the game by yourself, you gotta have ninja reflexes. There's no being new to this game about it, you gotta be good to be able to play through the entire game alone. Using mods also helps your mech if you need a bit of a safety net. You can find them throughout missions and can use them to give yourself upgrades that help you during each mission. The one that I mentioned earlier, where enemies take more damage as you take less, is a really nice thing to have equipped in the long run, especially if you're playing alone. Little features like that do give a slight change to the gameplay overall, and it's cool to see it implemented. Honestly, I have enjoyed myself a bit more than I first anticipated with Federation Force. In fact, I like it a lot better actually. The amiibo support is somewhat okay, giving your mech cool suits based off of Nintendo characters like Samus and Mario, but the controls can get a little wonky at times, forcing you to move the circle pad around versus having a smooth 180 turn with a nub such as on the new 3DS or something, and that kind of does irritate me. You'll get used to it if you give the game a shot, but just know that is there. Keep in mind, I've hardly ever played a Metroid game. I played a little bit of Super Metroid and that was it. And this is a spin-off, and no, Samus is not the main character, however, she does make appearances here and there with the mild story given. If you go into this with the mindset of it being a new experience versus being upset that this is the first Metroid game in a good long while, you'll most likely have a good time with it. Really, in the end, there's a lot that I do like about the game. The character textures look decent for it being on a 3DS, and the backgrounds are all designed accordingly. There are only 3 planets to explore in the game, but each mission feels different than the other. No two feel or look the same. Sometimes though, minor control quirks and mostly unmemorable music can somewhat take away from the experience. However, it's the puzzle-like challenges and progressive difficulty that really make for a new adventure and make it feel fresh. It's a spin-off, and that's what it's there for, to give you a little look behind the scenes of Samus Aran. And that is Metroid Prime Federation Force. So with that said, thank you so much for watching my review of the game, and if you played it yet, let me know what you think about it in the comments, and I will talk to you next time.